I'm joined by Rabbi Daniel Kraus, Director of Community Education at Congregation Kehilath Jeshurun in New York. Good evening, Daniel.
Good evening.
And we also the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships at Birthright Israel Foundation. And we recently became good friends and colleagues, having spent a week together on the SAC Scholarship Program in Israel. So Rabbi Kraus is delighted and really pleased to have an opportunity to speak to you once again.
Thank you for the invitation. I look
How
forward to a
are,
physical invitation.
yes, likewise. How are things in America?
Things in America are okay. We're trying to find moments of light and illumination among the darkness that we're feeling.
Good. Now, those listening will probably pick up from your accent that you're not a native New Yorker. You actually were born in Australia, that's right?
Correct. Born and raised in Melbourne, Australia, and I've been
Okay.
living in Manhattan for the last 21 years.
Wow. Okay. So that's why I really wanted to speak to you because do you have family and friends still in Australia?
I have a lot of friends there, and I also have my parents and my brother, my niece and nephew, and a lot of cousins. So a lot of
Wow.
family there.
And firstly, I hope they are all safe and well.
Thank God. My family is predominantly in Melbourne, so they're physically safe, but they're
Right.
they're heartbroken and they're haunted and they're challenging like everybody else.
Right. And you had a connection with the Chabad rabbi there.
Yeah, a very close friend of mine's brother-in-law was Rabbi Eli Schlanger, Hashem Yikam Damo, who was one of the first to be named, and the rabbi whose Chabad house was right there on Bondi Beach.
Wow. Wow. Okay. I mean, it's hard to process all of what's been going on. But also obviously understand from you, you've been in touch with your family and friends there. I mean, the obvious question is, how are they doing?
How long do we have? I mean, as an Australian Jew, for me, this is deeply personal.
Right,
Australia always like felt different. It felt safer. It felt buffered from the world's ugliest instincts.
right.
And watching a place that once felt distant from this kind of hatred is really chilling. My family's story begins in the 40s when they arrived from Eastern Europe and they came literally to the other side of the world to build a better life
Safe haven.
together.
Right.
And Australia was supposed to be a place where history didn't repeat itself. And that lately that promise feels, really fragile. I don't know how much you know about Australian history. Actually, you guys sent us here back,
Right.
the first fleet arrived in 1788, I think, with
So that's why always blame the British.
it was about 1,400 prisoners, I think. At least six of them were Jewish.
Oh, wow.
But Australia, growing up, like I felt like, winning the lottery. Born in the right time at the right place, who could embrace both my Australian and Jewish identity without any conflict. Went to a Jewish day school, went to, Bnei Akiva. We were publicly and proudly Jewish. And things have changed. As much as they've changed all around the world, they've certainly changed in Australia as well. And from this iconic location, like Bondi Beach, is a world famous location. It's sun-kissed beaches and its open nature was some place that people felt free and tourists were there to be and to live and to experience.
Right.
This is heart-wrenching on all accounts.
Right. Can you tell us a bit more about the Bondi Beach Jewish community? What sort of size it is and what the makeup is?
Sure. So the Australian Jewish community in general, is about 120,000 Jews, really close, connected, and rather small, amongst the broader population of 27 million people.
Sure.
So we're about like 1% of Australia's
Mm.
population. So when tragedy strikes, it feels very close. I'll speak more about the Melbourne Jewish community because that's where I grew up, but it's very similar to Sydney. Close-knit community. It doesn't matter whether you grew up in the modern Orthodox shul Chabad, which is a very big Chabad population throughout all of Australia, or even the Hasidic community or the Litvish community. Everyone knows each other. Everyone does business together. Everyone is intertwined and connected in many ways. And we're very, very tight-knit. The Bondi Jewish community is right there on the beach. It's a huge destination for tourists. It's a couple blocks away from regular big shuls where you can find minyanim every single day and youth groups and Bnei Akiva and other movements. And this is right pierced in the heart of the Jewish community.
Wow. Okay. And what do you think this says about the future of Jewry in Australia? Does this change things?
I think it does change things. On one hand, as Jews, we've been hated, we've been hunted, we've been harmed for 3,000 years, and we're still here. And the haters haven't defeated us. They're never
Right.
going to defeat us. But I think for Australia, I think this has changed the reality for now and for the short term. We were really let down by the federal government, by the state government. Our political leaders have failed us. And I think the governments, had the power to curb the rising hatred, but they didn't, and they repeatedly just led with excuses, justifications, plenty of lip service. The community has been warning things are going to happen, things are going to
Yeah.
change. And I
Wow.
think, unfortunately, the murder of 15 Jews, including a 10-year-old girl, hopefully the leaders are going to, act and confront the extremism. There will be a lot of, finger pointing. Gun control is not the problem here. That's a very convenient, I think, distraction from addressing
Right.
the real cause. That's extremist ideology, and that's hatred that's been espoused without consequence. If you normalize people marching in the streets, and globalizing the Intifada, you may have seen a few months ago the harrowing images from the Sydney Harbour Bridge, an iconic Australian location with
Yeah.
thousands of people, chanting death to Jews. If you normalize that, then without consequence, and this is what happens.
Wow.
I don't know how they recover from this.
Mm.
I don't believe there's going to be a mass exodus and a mass aliyah as much as we should all be moving to Eretz Israel,
Mm.
irrespective. I think this is going to change the face of the community for the short term.
Right. It's really interesting. Obviously, there's the same experience here in the UK, even though it's 10,000 miles away, Australia, the same sort of that narrative you're discussing, allowing this sort of extremist rhetoric to be just be normalized, and the terms globalization of intifada, those sort of things. I mean, it's just obvious, isn't it? We look back and say, wow, how did we not see it was coming? And yet, as you say, the Australian government quite clearly is hiding behind things like strict gun laws, and that, well, similarly here in the UK, people, the government's response is we need to protect the Jewish community. We stand with you. We're going to give you more funding for higher fences and walls around your synagogues and your schools. I mean, that's not the answer.
Right. I think,
That's treating the symptoms and not the root cause.
completely agree. I think a country where Jewish life can only exist under armed protection is not a healthy, functioning sign of a democracy.
Right.
No, Australians, for the most part, are decent, and many Australians are horrified. We saw a beautiful hero emerge who happens to
Yeah.
be not
Yeah.
a Jewish man,
Yeah. Yeah.
and Australia that I grew up in is very multicultural. Lots of Greeks, lots of Italians, lots of Lebanese. We all get along, and I think for the most part, Australians are decent, and Australians are horrified and scared.
Mm.
But history shows this kind of hatred rarely targets Jews alone.
Right. We get it similarly in the UK here, obviously since October the 7th. We've been talking about this, the idea of this silent majority that we know we have friends out there, but we need to hear from them. Do you think that's the same thing in Australia? So the Jewish
Absolutely,
community
this is
really
a
need
time
that
for
sense of,
people. This is a time I was speaking to my brother a lot this week and other members of my family. This is a time where they're looking for their colleagues and their neighbors who are not Jewish to stand up and to be heard. This is not a time for silence.
right,
And this is where, lip service is only going to get you so far. We need everybody who's an upstanding human to stand up and say, this is horrible, this is atrocious, this is things that we will not allow in our country.
right. Will you, on the behalf of our community, send our best wishes to your family and friends out there, and say we support them, even though we're so far away. It's reminded us that the Jewish world is very small, and we really feel it, and they're in our hearts and in our thoughts and our prayers.
Deeply appreciate it. And, I think I saw yesterday the quote of Rabbi Schlanger, Hashem Yikam Domo, who said the best way to combat anti-Semitism is to be more Jewish, to act more Jewish, to appear more Jewish.
Yeah,
And that's what we'll do in Australia. I'll do in New York. You'll do in England. And we stand taller. We'll celebrate louder. We'll live more visibly. And we'll bring, more Jews to feel, experience, and be Jewish. That's it. That's our goal.
right.
Thank you very much. Great to see
No,
you.
thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of Hanukkah, and regards to all your family and friends, and the community as well.
Thank you.
Great speaking to you. Take care.